I'd like to welcome Chris Anderson to the show. Chris is the co-founder and VP of sales at Applause. If any of you listening have been wondering how to get more reviews, drive employee and customer engagement, and be able to track all of that data with an effective and easy to use platform, you guys are in for a treat.
But we wanted to create a tool that was going to get them excited again about every service. And that's what the impetus was for Applause, to create an employee engagement tool that was going to incentivize the technicians to think more like business owners. Because as business owners, we have a lot of ideas and we know how we would, interact with customers if they called us. But how do we get our employees, our technicians, care about our business and our customers as much as we care about them as owners?
Welcome to the Bug Bucks Podcast, a podcast designed to help you become a bug money millionaire. Today's episode is brought to you by Bug Bucks Plus, the #1 course designed to help you start and grow your pest control company. I'm your host, Eric Bassett. Alan is traveling today, but we do have an awesome guest lined up for you that I'm going to introduce here in a minute. Before we do that, I just want to remind everybody listening, the best way to receive new episodes is by subscribing to our show on your preferred podcast platform like Apple, Google, Audible, or Spotify. If you love the show, please give us a rating and a review. And one last reminder, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, go to Bug Bucks. That is BUGBUX. We've got over 3,500 other pest control owners in that group waiting to connect with you and share their thoughts. That's also the best way for you to share your feedback on our show and have your questions highlighted and discussed here on the podcast. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Chris Anderson to the show. Chris is the co-founder and VP of sales at Applause. If any of you listening have been wondering how to get more reviews, drive employee and customer engagement, and be able to track all of that data with an effective and easy to use platform, you guys are in for a treat. Chris, my guy, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you. Full disclosure here for you guys listening, I actually use Applause at Natura. We've been using Applause for a month, maybe a little bit
and a
over a
half,
month.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. My technicians love it. My office staff loves it. It's been driving customer employee engagement. It's been getting us tons of reviews. We'll dive into the specifics here, but Chris, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself and how Applause came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So me, myself, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started out with, going to college, realized that the corporate route wasn't for me. It wasn't going to do well for me. So decided to build out my own business. And I actually started in the HR space. I worked for an insurance brokerage for a while and developed a lot of really good relationships with people in the HR space, and found that they had a lot more on their plates than they had bandwidth to cover. So started a little HR consultancy, fractional HR, support small businesses that don't have in-house HR. So that's a traditional background. And then Applause came to be. I was actually supporting a company that you may all be familiar with, which was Slingshot. They were one of our clients in the HR space, and got really good buddy with Taylor Olson, who was the CEO and founder of Slingshot there. And after he exited from Slingshot, he knew that he had, one more in him. And he saw that there was a big need in especially in the pest and home services scene, to develop an employee engagement tool that was designed for technicians. There's a lot of employee engagement tools that are out there, programs that are out there that are more for the corporate environment, where they aren't very, easily accessible through the mobile device, and not doing the things that technicians like to see that create that kind of engagement. So that's what was the impetus for Applause. Is we saw that there was a big need to engage these technicians, get them to care about what business owners care about, reviews, customer retention, customer satisfaction. Because most technicians are just going to do the bare minimum, right? They're just going to go up there, they're going to do the job, they're ready to go home for the day. But we wanted to create a tool that was going to get them excited again about every service. And that's what the impetus was for Applause, to create an employee engagement tool that was going to incentivize the technicians to think more like business owners. Because as business owners, we have a lot of ideas and we know how we would, interact with customers if they called us. But how do we get our employees, our technicians, care about our business and our customers as much as we care about them as owners? So that was the initial impetus for Applause.
That's awesome. And obviously you've got this really great journey, going from giving other business owners tools, all this HR stuff. You guys see the need for applause, and I'm sure all the guys that are listening right now really understand exactly what that drive is, right? I mean, we want all of our employees to feel the same way about how we value our customers and how we value our business policies and practices. But man, that engagement level just always isn't there. Like you said, the guys clock in, they clock out, and sometimes they do a fantastic job. And we've had other episodes on the podcast about getting reviews. And sometimes it's a long process, when someone says, "Hey, how do I get my technicians to get reviews from customers?" And I say, "Well, you got to sit down, you got to teach them, you got to go through all these different strategies, right?" And every single pest control owner I've ever talked to can probably figure out some way to put in the effort to do that. But what they really need is some streamlined, effective process where they teach the technicians how it's done. And not only does it kind of automate and work by itself, but the technicians want to do it. That's the real struggle, right? Is that engagement. I can teach a technician how to get reviews, but does he want to get reviews? Maybe, maybe I give him some bonus incentive. Does that do the trick? Possibly. And I really feel like Applause has found this niche where you found the missing pieces of it and have really executed very well on getting that engagement piece.
Oh, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. As business owners, I think we're incentivized by a number of these things because we know what the upside potential is when we focus on customer satisfaction, on customer retention, on Google reviews. All these things are funneling towards more revenue, more growth. So as a business owner, we reap the benefits of all the labor intensive work that goes into making sure there's good quality service, customer retention, and good Google reviews. But the technician side of things, like what do they see? What's the benefit that they see by working a little harder, putting in that extra mile, put cherry on top of the service? So what we devised was a solution that was very transparent and immediate to bonus technicians based upon performance. And we needed to do that in a way that was going to be very automated. We didn't want to create any additional workload for the technician, for any administrative staff. So what we designed was a tool that directly integrates in with the CRM. So that integration is vital for this to run automatically after the service is completed. And then after the service is completed, we're going to send a message off to the customer, a text message. Text message just because, text message gets way more conversion than any email or, attaching any other request to an invoice is going to get. And then we're going to take them to a landing page that says, "Hey, rate us 0 out of 10 how we did." So there's the first engagement tool that we're using is NPS. That NPS is then going to be delivered directly to the technician. So they're getting constant feedback from the customers on how they're doing because everybody in their role wants to know how they're doing. And this is the way the customers can do that automatically. So once that is done, we're now going to prompt for a tip. Now, tipping is a little bit new to this environment within the home services space, but let's think about the design of a tip. In the food services industry, in the hospitality industry, it's designed to promote a quality service, a higher level of service, because at the end of the service, I, as a consumer, get to dictate whether or not this is deserving of good. So what happens is it flips a switch in the in the technician's brain to say, "Hey, every service is now becoming an opportunity for me to make more money. I'm in control of my wage. I feel like I'm in control of the service that I'm providing because I know the outward or the end potential of increasing my wage." And I think that corresponds really nicely to how we think of things as business owners, right? Like if we have customer retention, that means more revenue. We have, better customer quality, that means potential referrals. If we have more Google reviews, more money. And we're all incentivized by the almighty dollar, right? And the cash is king. And what we've done is we've built a tool that can now allow the customers to voluntarily offer up some kind of a tip to the technician if it is deserving of it. And once that is completed, we've now identified this customer as an attractor to our business. They had an awesome experience. They provided a tip maybe. Now this is optimal time for us to solicit for that Google review, really boost up our public profiles. But we do so in a way that's a little different than most other Google review solicitation platforms. We try to incorporate this tip your tech method where we offer up $5, $10, whatever it is to the technician in the event that the customer leaves the review. And because we use this messaging, it does three things. First and foremost, it's going to shed a good public image about your company because it's telling your customers that, hey, I care about my employees, but I also care about performance and quality. So if you can tell me that they get a good enough job, I'm going to give them an extra boost. I'm going to give them an extra bonus. So really good, really good rep that you're developing with your customers about paying your technicians fairly. The second thing is it's going to do is it's going to create more empathy with your customer because they're reading it thinking, oh, I'm not necessarily helping Natura pest control here. I'm
Mhm.
helping good old John that's out there in the hot sun servicing my account. And all this takes for me is time to increase the wage of that worker. So you better believe my philanthropic heart is beating at the opportunity to help out the technician, right? So I'm going to take the 5 minutes that it takes to give that 5-star review so that I know John is taken care of. So that's the second thing it does, creating empathy in the customer's mind so that we have a higher conversion of Google reviews. The third thing it does is it motivates your technicians because your technicians know, again, beyond just the tip, now I have the ability to make more money on the Google review side of things. So what does that mean for me? Well, maybe I'm going to go and I'm going to walk the customer through the service that I just to make sure they understand the value. Maybe I'm going to preemptively, listen to the great training that Eric gave me in my onboarding that says, hey, you're going to be receiving a text message here after the service is completed. I would love if you gave me a Google review. It really helps me out. Again, just promoting and prompting that recognition to happen on a regular basis to understand the importance of customer care, the importance of a quality service, the importance of Google reviews. But now comes the tricky part, right? Because I know that you guys were running a system before where, you were, tracking the Google reviews, trying to match
Mhm.
the technicians, putting it in a spreadsheet. What, on a weekly basis, how much time did that take?
Too much time. Yeah,
Too much.
way too much time and trying to involve other people who wasn't part of their normal job, wasn't part of the normal procedure. It created a bottleneck in an otherwise okay system and, wasn't very efficient. That's
Right.
for sure.
But it works to a certain extent, right? There
Sure.
was the theory that was there that, hey, we're seeing some increase in Google reviews because our guys are,
Mhm.
getting the incentive to do so. What we did is we took it a step further. We understood that the administrative burden there was a hassle, right? And it
Mhm.
made that program kind of a headache for everybody involved. So we built an algorithm that matches the Google review to the technician automatically, and it will automatically deposit the tips and the bonus into what we call the Applause digital wallet, or think of this as kind of a Cash App or a Venmo for your business. So each of your technicians will have their own application. They're seeing the feedback they're getting from customers in real time. They're seeing the tips and bonuses that they're getting in real time. And what this creates is kind of a drip campaign towards your workforce. This positive reinforcement of, the quality of service, this Pavlov's dog effect of, oh, I just got a treat. What did I do to get that treat? Oh, well, I provided a great service. I got a Google review. Man, that means that if I do more great services and more Google reviews, I get more quote unquote treats. So it
Mhm.
creates this conditioning to really change the behaviors of the technicians to get them excited again about the service, because again, every service now is an opportunity for them to make additional money and then also get that feedback. Because that feedback, once tracked, they know it's going somewhere within management, within, a supervisor. So they are much more inclined to provide a quality service when they know it's going to get reported back to somebody that is in charge of their role. So that's the concept behind it. Creating that drip campaign had to be something that was automated. So it's not going to create additional burden for administrative staff or technicians. It had to be transparent. So that's why we built the mobile app so that they can get immediate access to those funds and cash out as they wish, as well as we created a leaderboard within the application. The leaderboard is really cool.
Mhm.
What have your guys thought about the leaderboard? How, are they checking pretty often? What's their take on it?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, and my whole experience with the platform so far, I mean, I remember when you first sat down with me and you showed me the platform, and just from what I had heard about it as a business owner, I was pretty bought in, so I was looking forward to it because I've been looking for some type of platform like this for a while. And when you first showed it to me, I was pretty excited. But now that I've actually used it, so that you guys listening, I can kind of tell you what my experience has been like. The first thing that Chris noted was this whole NPS, Net Promoter Score system is the first thing that those customers get from the technicians. And for me, Net Promoter Score allows me to identify, like he said, which customers are going to be most likely to refer our business to their friends and family. Natura does a large portion of leads just based on referrals. And I think every time I've looked into a Facebook group question like, hey, how do you guys grow your business? A lot of you guys are still doing a lot of referrals, which is great, right? But being able to identify which of those customers are the promoters, you know? So that's been great. And I can look at that leaderboard because it shows me not only what technicians are highest rated on Google, it shows me which technicians are highest rated for Net Promoter Score. It shows me which technicians get the most tips, right? I can see all of this information, and that leaderboard is customizable to the technician. So I can customize what information they see. So maybe I want them to see NPS and I want them to see Google, but maybe I want to keep the tips and other stuff a little bit more confidential. I can customize all that on my end, which is awesome. But the whole journey that my technicians have had has been so much more engaging. We sit down in management meetings now, and when I sit down and I talk to my service manager, we talk about what's going well and, what he can work on and what the action plan is. Applause is part of our meeting. We sit down, we open up the platform, we look at it, and we talk about which technicians are doing really well, who's killing it, who has the best opportunities for improvement, what goals we can set when it comes to it. And it's now an effective tool that we can use to manage and grow our business, which has been awesome. So that's probably a very long way of me saying that the leaderboard is used very often, whether it's by the management team or whether it's by the technicians, and them being able to see, visibly, like you said, transparency, be able to see the platform and see how their performance in the field corresponds to feedback from customers, tips from customers, right? And additional compensation is killer. I mean, that engagement piece, kind of like I said before, is really that missing piece of the puzzle that I think these other platforms haven't been able to deliver on yet.
And that's what we're really excited about too, because we have some hot maps in the app itself just to see where technicians are going, seeing how they're navigating through it. And they're checking those leaderboards often, like 3, 4 times a day, because there's competitive drive within these technicians.
Mhm.
Like they want to see who's top dog. They want to be top dog. So again, that's just an organic method that we've used, really simple method to display who's top dog, to other people motivated to get their butts into gear and get those Google reviews and get those higher NPS ratings. What naturally has happened organically is that technicians that are lower performers are able to see who the top performers are. So I don't know if
Mhm.
you've seen this internally, but some of the lower performers are going to the top performers and being like, dude, you're killing it on reviews. You're killing it on NPS. Like, what can I do to improve what I'm doing in the field in order to get, more opportunities for, bonuses and tips of that nature. So really cool organic things that are happening on the employee engagement front. To your point on the NPS is just so valuable to have from a management perspective, to use to deliver feedback to technicians. And those comments associated with some of those reviews can be super actionable, right?
Mhm.
You can start to see different trends with the comments that are being placed. You can start to create training or, some kind of initiative around the trends that you're seeing that are maybe of a negative light. You know what you're
Mhm.
doing well because those same comments with those trends that are coming through. So there's just a lot of data as you were talking about, like identifying those would be, referral opportunities. We can create a whole email campaign or some kind of marketing campaign around targeting those individuals, those customers that provided us tens, because we know that question that was asked is how likely are you to refer our business? That is the marketing strategy that we want, is target that demographic so that we can get more on that front from the referral standpoint. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool tools and data to use to, take action within the business that's going to help grow.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about creating a culture that's pro evaluation, right? Pro feedback. I think technicians, especially with reviews, they're pretty happy when they get a 5-star review, right? And then they're completely bummed when they get, a bad review, like a 1-star review, and that's really all it's been. It's so polarized when it comes to reviews. And one thing that I really love about your guys' platform is that it allows us to get customer feedback along with a customer review. So there's a section in there where the customer can just leave some notes for the technician, right? And then depending on how they rated the NPS score, we can selectively choose, okay, if the customer says 8, 9, and 10, great. If the customer says 7 and below, I want to know about it, right? As a business owner, I can customize that to whatever I want. And it's really cool to be able to see, I get the emails and Applause will say, hey, low internal rating alert, right? And it'll send me the feedback from the customer directly. And they might say something like, hey, Joe was really, really great. He took care of everything. But when he was leaving, he actually left the gate open and I have dogs. And I would just really love it if you guys could close the gate next time. Right. Now, what's cool is they feel heard as a customer. They don't have to leave a negative review on Google because they have this platform where they can communicate with me and provide feedback, even if it's not the best. Right. I can go directly to that technician. I can say, hey, you got some feedback. This is the situation, right? How about you make sure you double check the gates? And we've been able to be so much more effective with feedback, and it doesn't come with such a heavy weight of getting a negative review, right? Because my technicians, if they get a negative review, it's like, hey, you're going to the manager's office. You have to have a talk, right? But creating that culture of just pro feedback, pro evaluation, I can deliver that kind of feedback and say, hey, this is just from an internal rating. This is the feedback the customer gave. This was your score. And here's some feedback. And they're cool with it. They're great. And they're looking forward to making improvements on that. Usually when you get a 1-star review from somebody on Google, like that customer's very upset. I mean, and people actually struggle with leaving feedback unless it's one or the other, unless it's really, really great or unless it's really, really bad. And that polarization's been really tough for businesses who want to have pro evaluation cultures because everything in the middle is really what you can improve on. But if you don't have that feedback, you're never going to know, right? So I love the customization that can be done within the platform that provides the feedback. And while we're speaking about customizations, I know the big thing that people talk about is Google. That's like the main player, right? I want to get Google reviews. But let's say, for example, that I wanted to get reviews from other platforms. Am I able to customize that review link to send a customer
No,
other places?
absolutely. And great question. And we want to create as much customization as we can on our end because you guys know your business better than we do. We know some, common, trends within the industry, and that's what we try to build around. But again, we want to lead that customization just based upon your geographical location. Maybe Google review isn't as impactful as Yelp, isn't as impactful as Facebook, but we can create any link that you want and send your customer to any marketing channel that you wish in order to provide those reviews. One of the really cool things that we're working on right now is that we're developing in Q4 is because we have these access into these GMB accounts, these Google My Business accounts, we are actually able to identify those that have already left a Google review. And we're building out a sequence tool that says, okay, if customer Y has already left a Google review, then prompt for Facebook. If customer Y has left Google and Facebook, then prompt for Yelp. Because there's that opportunity, that call to action on every interaction. And once you get a Google review, you're kind of done with that account, right? You can't get additional reviews. So we want to open up that, that marketing